I'd like to add on to that and say, technology enables. And if there's one thing that I've seen in having to manage, or rather manage people who manage multiple companies, because as an investor, we have multiple companies, and the back end of our company, BlackRock, just has a few professionals, a few people in finance, in legal, and in operations. But they have to manage over 27 different startups. So having the right technology, having the right systems in place is what enables. It's a small team of 5 managing 27 different entities who have a total of 2,300 employees. And so without technology, on the accounting side, be it on the HR side, be it on the operations side, you can't do it. And so I have seen firsthand how technology can help. And I must say, it is a pure pleasure. It has been a pure pleasure engaging and interacting with the seamless software. There's, if I can call it, humanistic design into it in terms of the UI UX. But to Africa and solutions for African, ultimately, what I see is with the signing of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, we are at a nexus. We are at a point of massive change. And I want to encourage everybody in this room not to think of themselves as only belonging to the lines that were drawn in 1844 in Berlin by some Muzungus who were drinking things which are cheaper than Johnny Walker Black. See yourself as African. See yourselves as part of the continent as opposed to a country, because all these boundaries and barriers were drawn up by people who cut in between clans. Happy to be here. Excited to be at the cusp where technology is helping to change things. And I want us to all embrace African solutions for African problems. Good evening and enjoy your dinner.
Thank you so much, Chris. Succinct, straight to the point, inspiring as always. Now we're going to get into a panel discussion that will unpack literally what the last 3 speakers went into. And this session is going to be moderated by Grace Ayibo. Thank you. She is the head of HR at Seamless HR, and she will also introduce her distinguished panel.
Thank you, Victoria. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you once again launching our brand here in East Africa. Tonight, we have 3 esteemed and distinguished professionals, and I'll just call their names and I'll let them I'll let them introduce themselves, because I don't think I'll do enough justice to that. So first on the panel is Doris Chelagat. Please can we welcome her with a round of applause. All right, next is Sil Omokpe. Can we welcome him with a round of applause as well? And last but not the least is Dr. Bright Gameli. Let's welcome him, please. Thank you. Can we have a mic for... Thank you. Okay, so thank you all for accepting to be on our panel tonight. I am. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so the first question, basically, like I said, to just introduce yourself. So we'll start from Bright, Doris, and then Sil. So just tell us again your name, where you currently work, what you currently do, and your role essentially.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bright. I'm into cybersecurity. I work for a company called Mara, where I look at application security for blockchain. But I do everything cybersecurity. Let me just say that. Simple as that.
Thank you. Doris?
Good morning, evening, everyone. My name is Doris Chalagat Muige. I am transitioning identity, so I'm still a bit lost as to who I am. I used to be a HR professional. I've done HR within organizations. I've also sold HR, both services and tech. And now I work at a company called Yusudi, where we are trying to elevate sales as a career, get more youth into really dignified sales positions, but also help organizations do better with their sales teams. Yeah, great to be here.
Thank you, Doris. Sil?
Right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sil Amopi. I'm the Director of Engineering for Seamless HR. What do I do on a day-to-day? Well, very simply put, I manage the genius men and women behind our tools, behind the software that we produce. Thank you.
Thank you, Sil. All right, so thank you, gentlemen and lady. So we'll just dive right in. But before we start, just to remind us of what the theme for tonight's event is. It's Maximizing Africa's Human Capital at the Intersection of Enterprise and Technology. So the first 20 to 30 minutes will be spent interacting with our panelists. And at the end, if you have any questions, please just indicate and we'll be able to take questions from the audience. So we'll start with each of you. We'll just go around again. What comes to your mind generally when you think about human capital on the African continent?
I don't know how to define that really, but I think we're looking at being able to upskill what the already skills that you have to be able to actually to be beneficial to an organization or economic growth. So in an organization, if you can look at Africa, a lot of people are changing. Look at the fact that she's changing jobs. She's changing from what she used to do. I get a lot of people who talk to me and say, I'm changing from finance, I want to become a data scientist, right? All of that is a definition of human capital. And in Africa, there's a lot of growth. We're seeing a lot of people changing every day and trying to be better in what they do to be able to make a living or to make where they work become something better. So yeah, there's a lot of changes that are coming. That's what I see.
So I'll say, in summary, change and upskilling.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Or with optimization, basically to say.
With optimization, yeah. Fantastic. Doris?
I see the youth. I see the youthfulness. I see the nimbleness. I see the opportunity for us to be able to shift, move, and dance according to our own dance and tunes. But I also see us taking responsibility for the next generation. I think we need to understand that the government will not get us out of a bad education system. The government will not get us out of, and I think there are people who can actually run a payroll on 20,000 people in this continent. I'm sure there's a company. We need to be able to actually figure out our own solutions without necessarily either thinking and relying on mothership, other countries, or the government. So I see nimbleness, I see youth, and I see a lot of opportunities, but I also see an urgency for solution. I see that if we are at an inflection point, and if we don't really make significant changes about how we consider our continent, it might go either way. Yeah, that's what I see.
Very good, Doris. Thank you. Sil?
You see, that's actually a really very good question. Because earlier in this year, in one of Gardner's reports, they highlighted that Africa is going to be the solution to the global tech problem within the next century. They actually believe that we've got the talents, the skills, the capability, the human resource required to actually transform technology across the globe. It's very interesting that they're not looking to Asia or Europe for this. So what I see when I look at the human capital opportunities that we have here in Africa is growth and massive innovation to come.
Very well said, Sil. Thank you. And I mean, that just, it reminded me of what Emmanuel said a few moments ago, that Africa basically exports everything. to the world. And when you think about human capital in Africa, and you compare to what is happening in Europe and how a lot of our talent, I would say talent because we experience that on a day-to-day, they're being poached from Europe and, lured with big salaries. So, I mean, it makes, what three of you have said makes a whole lot of sense. So, Doris, I would circle back to you now. Now, in terms of technology, and let me be specific on HR technology, enterprise solutions. How would you say that adoption has been in Africa, considering like we have so capital on the continent, Just answer that first question and your answer will determine what I'll ask you next.
Okay, so adoption of HR technology, having been on the other side who is trying to sell technology to HR people. So I think for me, it is as developed as the pressure that requires a HR person to, no one is requiring me to look at time to hire. If I can hire within 6 months, why do I need technology? No one is giving me the pressure to hire. I can go through 47,000 applications on email, the one that has a reference number this, because there's no pressure to do it differently. As long as there's no pressure to do things differently, as long as I don't feel the pain, as Chris says, to move from Excel to a payroll system, I will continue. And I think what we are fortunate about is with a lot of the VC funding, with a lot of even COVID and a lot of the pandemic in a very convoluted way, there is now a lot of pressure for efficiency, a lot of pressure for cost optimization. Someone requires you to turn that hire around in 2 weeks. You cannot afford not to use technology. It has really, really helped the continent in a sense that we can't sit and continue doing things as we are, especially if you really do want efficiency and cost optimization to be something that you're thinking about. But I think also for me, especially for people who sell technology to Africa is, I think we need to humanize it, and I like what you said. So humanizing it in a sense that helping us understand, and a question that came up yesterday is the fear of people losing jobs. So if 47,000 applications were coming in and I had 100 interns, I'm going to lose jobs if you want me to use an applicant tracking system. So how are we helping HR transition into thinking differently about losing jobs and seeing that the fact that that same revenue will actually be used to increase the sales team, it will be used to increase the technology team. So there is the good from the pressure coming up. The digital natives they don't want to send their e-CVs on email anymore. They're like, if you don't have an applicant tracking system, it means you're just wasting my time. So I feel like we need more pressure to actually get us to embrace technology more, but it is coming along. Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Fantastic. I think you rounded it up. I was going to ask, how do we actually improve that adoption, considering, Emmanuel has said, can you run payroll for over 40,000 people? I don't think that, there are people that can do it, like you said, because they will spend so much time, but is it efficient? And I think that is the highlight of what you have said, considering that the world is moving into, a learning, knowledge economy type of space. So, did you want to add something to that?
I think the reality, and I say this and I generalize and I probably will be stoned later, but I need to say it, is I don't think culturally efficiency is something that comes to our mind as Africans when we think about things. We're not thinking there and say, let's be more efficient. And so if payroll can run on Excel for 40,000, run it on Excel. Unless there's another pressure that is allowing us to do it differently, I don't think naturally we think efficiency as the first key of doing things. Yeah.
That's a very interesting point, Doris. We may just touch back on it, but let me move to still. Now, in terms, sorry, apologies. I'm so sorry. Right, so I just want to move to Sil real quickly. Here, you introduced yourself as a director of engineering. So my question is this: can technology drive or promote inclusion in the workspace? And I'm asking this because, there is a certain rate of unemployment in Africa, right? We have agile youth. Doris keeps saying nimbleness, nimbleness, nimbleness. And there are people that are outside the workspace. There are also people that are, how can technology drive inclusion?
Inclusion.
Yes.
That's an interesting question. The first is removing the barriers that currently exist into getting people into the workplace.
So, and do you want to be like me with the mic?
I'm sure we can actually talk about loads of them if we go back a few decades. There are barriers that have prevented young people from getting into the workplace. There are barriers that have prevented older people from going back to work if they wanted to. There are barriers that existed that prevented females from getting into certain industries or males from getting into certain industries. Technology today has leveled the playing field because technology is about competence. If you've got the skills required, you will get the role. Doesn't matter what country you're from, doesn't matter what ethnicity you belong to, doesn't matter which football team you support. By the way, Arsenal's the best. Just saying to all my Gunners in the house. Enough respect. So how does technology do this? It does this through innovation. And innovation has created a lot more opportunities across industries that has required for everyone, regardless of their creed, their gender, their age, their role, to be able to contribute to building great businesses today. And I think this is going to continue. Now, take the West, for instance. Now, for those who may be familiar, I live in London. And there was a time when our grocery stores were full of older gentlemen and women who served as tellers, as professionals out there. Today, all of that is automated. Now, somebody might say, ho, we just lost a whole bunch of jobs. No. A lot of these people have actually transitioned within such organizations to actually perform more customer-facing roles. And all of this is all part of the contributions that technology has brought into the workplace to eliminate these barriers.
Yeah, thank you. Brett, do you want to add to that?
I mean, still has you stolen the stage anyway. Just kidding. No pun intended. I created my computer virus, the first computer virus, when I was 10.
Wow.
My youngest mentee created his, which was 50 times better than mine, when he was 11, turning 12. I trained him via WhatsApp. I had never met him. I trained a medical doctor the other day. In 3 months, this medical doctor knows how to do cybersecurity. I sent him to a client site, and he was able to do the first 20% of the work. Medical doctor. He had no IT background. He had no coding background. He had never installed a software programming tool, but in 3 months, he was able to do that, guess what? Via WhatsApp. Others are via Instagram. Majority of the people that I talk to is always via Instagram. Hi, I want to do this, I want to learn that, and I give links. And there are so many resources right now that we have zero excuse to be able to actually upgrade ourselves. If you Google something called Google Dork, okay? Google D-O-R-K. It actually gives you tutorials for you to be able to get any book, anywhere, at any time, for free. You don't have to buy, right? And if you look at the fact that we are changing those things, that's why you're going to realize that in the next few years, in fact, the next 1 year, the jobs that people are doing right now are going to start shifting.
That's correct.
People who are doing accounting are going to stop doing accounting and start doing data science. We have data scientists, we have data analysts, we have data engineers. Those are 3 different things in the data community. If you look at the fact that I knew somebody who was actually, how do you call it? You used to call them customer service. And she's like, no, I'm not a customer service agent anymore. I'm a customer experience. Because she actually gives feedback to the design team of exactly how to make that experience for the customers who are giving complaints every day, right? And she gave me a whole list of topics, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never thought about it this way. But the thing is, you can't look at them as customer service and say, no, have you clicked on this? Customer support anymore. They're not support, they're what? Customer experience, right? So the shift of things, we have to be dynamic and be able to be adaptive to change, and technology is here to do it. Now, if we can't get to optimize things to do things, the manual tasks for us, for example, in the HR systems, I mean, somebody called me last week and was like, Bright, can you give me a system to know if people have come to work on time, if they've left? And I'm like, you say you're looking for a spy software. He's like, no, I'm looking for an HR system. I'm like, okay, well, you're not necessarily tracking, but he wants to see if, and when he told me he wants to go further because everybody's remote, wants to see if they're working, I said, look, I have coded something which actually clicks on the screen. I used to post on Instagram. I timed something to post on my behalf. So I'll be in the club, but I'm posting. I'm not there. I'll be in the club. Okay, not the club. I could be in church. And be sending a WhatsApp message because, look, they're simple Python codes. I think you all have heard about OpenAI, which has been going around recently, right? Interviews are not the same anymore. Interviews that you do online and tell people, write a code which will take an hour, that OpenAI did it in less than 10 seconds. I tested it myself. I was shocked. I tested another one, a code that was, and a question that was supposed to be answered in, that can take you a day or two. It took less than 20 seconds. I stood up and held my head last night. I was like, this is genius. This is madness. That's going to change the dynamics of the kind of people you're going to have in the workplace. So automation is here. You have to adapt to be able to actually move with it. Otherwise, you'll be left behind.
Wow. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. And I mean, when you talked about customer support, customer experience, I glanced at our head of customer success and she smiled and she gave you a high five, I mean, a thumbs up. So that's very important. Now, you've talked a lot about automation, and this means a lot of data information will be out there. And I think that, I may be wrong, but I think that this is one of the concerns, that people have in terms of adopting technology. My information is out there, my employees' information is out there. Are there critical roles that employees have to play, in fostering information security mechanisms in the workplace?
Thank you very much. People think cybersecurity is the work of the cybersecurity head or the engineers or the CISO. CISO standing for Chief Information Security Officer. It's not. The responsibility is everybody. Every time I come to Kempinski, I always do this experiment, and I was happy when I got here, I just did that. I can tell you how many phones I hear, which are iPhones, which are all the phone types, all the laptop types, all the router types, how many rooms, how many people are connected. That took less than 10 seconds. That is a responsibility of now somebody who has their own laptop or phones to be safe. I'm not saying the Kempinski Wi-Fi is not safe. Relax. It just means to do that. So the responsibility is on everybody to make sure the data they keep is safe. People start telling you, move to Office 365, move to the cloud, move to cloud solutions and services, and people try to fight it. We can't go back in age, and because things like that help us to be able to make sure the data we keep is safe, there's visibility, and data is very serious. I don't know if you guys saw about last week, Facebook on the Meta was charged 144 million for the fact that they did not take care of child information on Instagram. They were charged another 24 million, I think, or more than that, because there was a data leakage in one of their platforms. So data is very serious, and I think it's just about time before, when it comes to Africa, that we're going to start taking data really, really serious. And we can see GDPR is there working out there. I don't think we're too far from it. Look at the Data Protection Commission in Kenya. Right now, there's actually a fine for you if you don't register as a data controller. Right? We're data controllers, we have processors, and then everything. So data is at the bottom of everything, and don't rely on technology heads to be the one to take care of that data. I think it's the responsibility of every single person. That's why there's training that's been done. That's why we need to educate ourselves. That's why we need to make sure that we have to look at it differently. And it's not just about data. If it's any other thing, it's the company information, emails, basic things. We need to go back to basics of such things. So just to summarize it, it's the responsibility of every single person to make sure that data is actually kept safe.
And like my information security manager will say, ensure that no one is the weakest link, because I think that's what it is.
There's too much blame on people being the weakest link. Come on, everybody can be hacked. Everybody can. I don't think I've ever done a phishing where you send malicious email to somebody where somebody doesn't click. If you think you've never been hacked before, give me an email. We can try it right now. I'll send an email from you to her, and it will come with your picture from your Gmail. And that's easy to do. Yes, we'll do that in 10 seconds after. And that's because even the best of the best, which is Google, does not have a way to be able to fix that as of now, right? So such a thing can be done, and then such a thing is, so there's never 100% safe system. So you can't expect the chief information security officer to do everything. That's why we have to be empowered, trained. Awareness is really key to make sure that we are continuously improving the security of our entire organization.
Thank you. And I think basically that's just minimizing risk, bringing it to the barest minimum. If you can't eliminate it, then reduce it as much as possible. Thank you. Did you want to add something to that, Sil?
Actually, yes. Right. Yes, I think you've actually said a lot. And everything you said there is actually spot on. In every organization, the responsibility for keeping data safe doesn't lie with one person. It lies with everybody. It's like, take us here at Seamless HR. Everybody is trained to be to keep data secure, regardless of what data it is, both employee data, your personal data, customer data. And you will know this, obviously, that there are 3 levels of security when we're talking about data levels. I take data security. There's the application level security, which is what you made reference to earlier on regarding authentication and authorization, ensuring that data is securely accessed and that the right people have got the right access to see only what they are supposed to. And then there is a transport level security, which highlights the fact that data being accessed is encrypted whilst in transit. So which means that if 2 systems or a modular system like our HRIS, for instance, shares data within the modules, that data is encrypted between modules to ensure that a phishing attack or an interception attack, for instance, would fail because the data is encrypted. Even if you were to steal the entire database, it's going to be useless. Why? Because this takes me to the 3rd level, encrypting data at rest. All our application data in Seamless HR is encrypted at rest. So it means that even if you do get hacked, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing, all right? I'm not inviting any company here to get hacked, but even if your entire database was stolen by whatever means, the data will be useless because it's all been encrypted. So that's just to add a layer to what you've highlighted there, that security is indeed pivotal.
Thank you very much for adding that. And this is where we are moving to something which we all need to just start reading on it. Blockchain technology. So blockchain, everybody thinks about blockchain being cryptocurrencies and everything. Come on, it's way more than that. Majority of blockchain technology is actually about how data that has been confirmed that is true, that is real, 1 + 1 = 2, store that 2 in a more secure way that nobody can actually make that change. It becomes immutable. It's actually shared among everybody. So everybody has a piece of that cake that you can actually not change anything that easily. So please just get to educate yourself on blockchain. And this is not me promoting the company or anything, but if you go to mara.xyz, there is an education part of it. Please go to that education, watch the videos, learn about what blockchain is, learn about what smart contracts are. Basically, and trust me, that is the next level of jobs that are days. I'm happy to be in that space, but basically just even though there's so many hacks that are happening, because nothing is ever 100% proof, please go to mara.xyz, learn about smart contracts, forget about the trading part of things. Get to understand the basics of what blockchain really is all about. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to ask one final question, but before then, just to remind the audience that you do have the opportunity to ask any of our panelists a question, probably something they've not talked about or something that you just want them to, drill some more on. So my final question is this. Again, circling back to the theme of tonight's event, the human capital space in Africa. And this question is born out of a conversation that I was having earlier with a man in this room. Doris is smiling because we're at that table together. Just talking about how do we move, from, we have a lot of potential, but it's still just potential, right? How do we maximize this potential and turn it into real human capital? Again, I think I asked a question about the rate of unemployment, the rate of illiteracy in Africa, across the continent. Is there a way that we can use technology to start building on that potential so that, you said 1 year, You know, a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, things that will, you know, dramatically change the face of the continent in terms of what we're producing, even with technology. And I'll allow anyone that is ready to go first.
I think I can go first. I liked what Chris Senano said around, if there's one thing that has brought all of us equally is internet. Like, we all can access internet. Well, granted, depending on how KPLC does you on that day, we have access to internet. And I think for me, when we realize that the role of education is not to get us jobs, but to build character, and that we need another bridge before we get jobs, we need to be more skills-based. We need to actually get the skills we need to get jobs. I think we will have probably done a 40% leap. And the opportunity the internet provides for that, the opportunity that we have to actually get online. I like, Bright, what you're giving all these quotes of go to this website, go to this website. There's so much opportunity for us to really, really build the requisite skills for jobs of tomorrow. But I think we are still so stuck on, I have a degree in procurement, I have a degree in human resources, without saying this is what I can do, and if, or rather, what does the employer need? So for me, I'm wondering, what can we do to get us to a place where we recognize and appreciate skills? I remember in my previous job, I was part of the team that was hiring for Microsoft Development Center, the developers, and the Microsoft team saying, listen, we don't care what degree, primary, I don't care. Can they code? Just bring us people who can code. Don't even put their qualifications in that paper. This is Microsoft. Remember, we hired a 21-year-old kid who had never seen the inside of a university, but had really spent the last 6 years really coding deeply. And I think, for me, that's the opportunity for us to really move into a more skills-based future of work, and not really, there's nothing wrong with education, but it has a place, and that's character building. Let's actually build the skills that we need for the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Doris. Bright?
If there's one thing that I ever look at my mentees or where I used to hire people, train character, train skill. Skills can be trained. So far as somebody's determined, they can always be trained to do something better. And like I'm telling you that a doctor was able to transition in 3 months, I was mind blown. I was a bit shocked. When my youngest mentee, all my mentees are between 18, 21 max. I'm still taking above 30, don't worry. Anyway, but for the fact that they were able to do things, and I told them the first thing to do is Google. Google, find out something, go to page 2. If you don't find, come back. Or come back and tell me, this is what I've looked for, this is what I found, this is why did not work, this is what I think I need help with. Trust me, every information is out there. And thanks to this OpenAI, man, I think it's made life even way too easier, because all you need to do is write that direct question, it gives you the answer, right? So books are available. I think there's so much information right now. If you go to a website like udemy.com, UDEMY, courses are as cheap as $10, $2. If you want to cybersecurity, go to Easy Counsel, Code Red. $1 is a course. Courses that actually cost $1 for you to learn cybersecurity from basics. And it's never too late to start anything new, right? Like I tell you, finance managers are going to become data analysts. You're going to see people who are CFOs who will never have to touch Excel sheets anymore. They will like to learn basic Python coding to be able to automate processes, because you're not going to spend 10 hours every day or 2 hours or 20 hours or 2 days trying to find out what relationship manager did what, when, and why, or how much they've been able to pull in. You can automate that. So we need to start basically going out there, looking for books, looking for resources. I'll leave you with one thing. If you go to my website, brightzed.com, Brightzed, there's a link, it's a one-pager, by the way, but there's one link there which says commands I use. All those commands are ways to be able to find any book using Google where you don't have 10 million or 1 million results. You get very shortened results specifically to what you're looking for. It's really good for research. I use that to be able to go through my master's and PhD. That's what really helped me, and I think I left it there specifically for anybody to use. So let's get out there. Let's look there are so many resources. Let's make use of them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bright. Don't say Bright didn't do anything for you after tonight. Still, any last words on this?
Dude,
The mics don't like you.
are you trying to set me up? I'm going to circle back to the actual question you asked. You used the word potential. There's a lot of potential in Africa. But you see, the truth of the matter is, potential without the opportunity to execute is nothing but just potential. And I think that has plagued us on this continent for a very long time. One of the solutions to that, yes, is education, like you've highlighted, actually learning the right skills that you might need to be able to contribute value. But then there is actually the businesses that actually provide the opportunities for people to put these skills to work. And without those African businesses, our young people will have nothing but just potential. Now, because anybody ever been there before where you apply for a role and they say, well, they need 10 years experience? Anybody been there before? And you wonder, how am I supposed to get 10 years experience if you won't even hire me in the first place? Then it becomes a chicken and egg situation. We need to change that across the continent. And the only way to do that is that the existing businesses we have, we are able to optimize the processes that they run in order to make them lean. Because once we do that, they will be able to hire more. They will be able to upskill young people. Internships will become a lot more valuable, will become a lot more seamless. No pun intended. But you see, that is what is missing. Anyone notice that now so many foreign companies in the West are now looking for African talent? What does that tell you about us? Not just cheap. What do you mean cheap? We're smart. We've got potential. But unfortunately, we need the opportunities to put those potential to work. And if the companies that we currently have don't have optimized processes, that would further make this journey more difficult. So that's just my little take on that.
I have a question for you, Steve.
Sure, go for it.
I'm getting really scared for the fact that most of our young people in Africa are getting taken by the foreign companies. I know one software developer, he makes 1.6 million Kenyan shillings net every single month from his bedroom. 1.6 million. The same skill that everybody has, but that potential has been executed to another level, and we are really, really fighting that. What do you think are some of the ways that we can start transitioning that? Or I find a lot of gaps in HR systems, not technical systems, but HR ways of handling these young developers, because they don't have the ability to be able to express themselves. They're at one position for 5 years. They're not growing. Nobody wants to listen to them. That boss who they know better than him does not want to let them. What do you think will be some of the ways that can be changed?
Okay, so now that's a very interesting question, but your question there has got several layers to it. First of which, there's a cultural thing. And I'm not going to double click on culture because we're going to be here all night, all right? And some of us look like we need to eat something fast. So we're not going to talk about culture. But the reason international companies are interested in African talent is because we have talent. And also they see us as affordable resources, right? Now, why is it that African businesses can't compete with some of these international giants? It's because of what they're offering. Now, how then, so if I understand your question correctly, what are the ways in which we can mitigate that or try and reverse that? It starts with us actually running optimized African businesses. So I'll give a personal example. I had a chat just before coming out here. I told you I lived in London. I've been in London for about 30 years now. I left London to come and work for an African company. And that was a decision I made. Because I said, hold up a second. We can do it in Africa too. There is nothing in the West that doesn't exist here. I've been there for 30 years, so you probably can take my word for it. There is nothing that they do that we can't do. The difference is that they sell theirs better than we sell ours. Anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, we are all business people in this place. So there's an opportunity to actually raise the bar. raise the game with our businesses. It's why we have sophisticated tools now in the market to optimize business processes. The difference between two businesses, that one succeeds and one doesn't, really is how optimized their processes are. So if we adopt technology and we adopt the right tools, it will provide us the opportunity to at least try and turn the tables, so that our young ones don't believe that the only way they can add value to their lives is to leave the continent. Does that help?
Thank you very much, Sil. On that note, any questions from the audience? Okay, we've got one hand raised over there, another hand raised over there. Victoria, okay. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Dixon. I'm a real estate consultant and also a co-founder of an application that is working on property valuation, and we're using blockchain. So my first question would be, there's a conversation about blockchain and Web3. Is there a way we can take advantage of blockchain on optimizing and also working on HR systems, and for instance, the use of smart contracts for salaries, so that you don't have somebody who you've worked for and then now they're not paying you your salary. And then the other question I would have is, in terms of Africa being a place where people come to for labor, we see the West going to Asian countries. How do we reposition ourselves to be that to-go place for labor? And yeah, so and is that viable even? Yeah.
So blockchain has brought something which the basis of it is transparency. So even recently, when the hacking of a few people have died because of cryptocurrency. Recently, you've heard, I think you've seen that. Even their own smart contracts code is actually publicly available. You can actually go see how much they have. We did a hack some time back, not breaking, but a hack to be able to solve a problem in Masai Mara, where we're trying to see how can somebody donate from the US or UK or Kenya, or somebody you can be at home and donate 500 shillings, but you want to see exactly where that 500 shillings is being put to use. Transparency, right? So that case, nobody can cheat you, say, oh, I sent them M-Pesa. You're like, but it hasn't come through. But it's easy for you to fake an M-Pesa message. I think anyway, it's actually very easy to fake any text message. I tried that before to fake a parking ticket message, and they open the door. So anything can be faked as an SMS, that you can send an SMS yourself, but it shows that it actually adds to your track of messages. You see, that is where blockchain is coming in. So in the kind of real estate situation, blockchain will come in to be able to make sure that payments are seamless. And I have to just use
no pun intended.
Payments are seamless. There's transparency of how money is being moved to one place to the other. If somebody says they've done a job and they want to confirm that that job has been done properly, there's always that transparency. So many kind of blockchain, how do you call it, technologies out there. You just need to make sure that you understand it properly before you implement it. A lot of people are saying they're implementing blockchain, and it's just the same with basic Web 2.0, right? So please take some time to be able to make sure and test it from end to end to make sure that it's actually working. Yeah, but actually it's the best solution. It's going to change a lot of things.
Right. I wasn't very clear on your second question. Do you mind rephrasing that for me, please?
So what I asked is, you see a lot of international companies, go into Asia for labor, right? So how do we as Africans, one, is there a possibility of attracting them? Is that a good thing to attract them into the African labor market? And then how do we do that?
Okay, fantastic. The first part of your question is actually been solved already. The West is already here. I mean, with the presence of Microsoft and Amazon and Google and Facebook, they're all here, and it's for a very simple reason: to harvest talent. So which tells us here that even the West know that we've got talent here, which is why they're here. Similar to what's going on in Asia at the moment. They see they see the general Asian continent as an affordable labor market. So for that reason, large companies in the West have a lot of their manufacturing and their development sites in Asia. Now, but why have they turned to Africa should be the question. Because over the years, Asia has become a lot more expensive. I know that because I have physically visited 87% of all of Southeast Asia. And I can tell you that over the last 25 years, it's become a lot more, labor has become a lot more expensive in Asia. So for that reason, a lot of the countries in the West are not looking for a way of reducing their production costs. So Africa has now become the new frontier for this. So in terms of bringing them over, to take advantage, so to speak, of the human capital that we have on the continent, we don't need to do anything. They've done their data analysis. They know that, yes, we're skilled, we speak better English than a lot of the Asian countries. We are hungry people, and I don't mean that physically, but we are driven people, if you understand what I mean. And perhaps it's because of the advent of poverty across the continent, but we are driven. So that solves that. Now, to the second bit of your question, that is this sustainable? It is. But what I personally foresee as an engineering professional is that what has happened in Asia is going to happen here. We are going to become more expensive. And why? The reason is because, like I said earlier on, we are driven people. When we are good at something, we are very good. How many of us actually know that I'm not going to mention the African countries so as not create the divide here, but there are two African countries. Okay, Kenya is one of them that has got a reputation globally for producing very good AI. Anyone know that? Yeah, which is quite interesting. So now, which means that there's going to be a lot more opportunities on the continent for that. Now, as foreign investments continue to grow in Africa, we're going to become a lot more expensive. Okay, does this help? Does it answer your question?
I just pray for one thing, though. Sure. I pray that we don't become too lazy. Because most of the times, the reason why some people don't even take labor from Africa is because they think we're too relaxed. It's a fact. To me, I'm from the research. A software engineering company from Europe to Africa. They went to Morocco, they came to Nigeria, they came to Kenya, and they were going to so many institutions to find out why is Africa so hot for software developers or for engineers. They just wanted to find out. And we went literally from to Moringa School, to Akira Chicks, to so many of these institutions. And the difference between getting engineers from here is because if they're managed properly, then
that's the key.
If they're managed properly. But if you get a freelance who's just a developer who's just at home and you're not able to manage that person, the character development you will get. Oh my God. So that's why some people start projects. There's so many startups in Kenya who fail, not because they don't have a good idea, because the team that they're working with is not being managed properly. The time, their outputs, and everything, they're not doing what he does, right? Managing the geniuses is not being managed properly, so they become so relaxed. Software that's supposed to be taking 2 or 3 weeks is now taking 6 months, and they start using jargon. So we need one more JavaScript developer to do the back end of the PHP and the JavaScript and the React. All of that, then they go to where? They go to Asia, because it's done cheaper, faster, and because what? They don't need to manage them. So I think that's just a management, and we need the right tools for that, is the only reason how we can actually progress faster.
Go for it.
We have time for just, no worries. Just one more question from the lady, and run out of time.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eva Gashoki. I am a fintech and tech lawyer. I have 2 things to say. One, I want to play a devil's advocate to blockchain. I love blockchain because blockchain has exponential potential, a lot of it. But Initially, when we had centralized technology and we had Web 2.0, we were all speaking like we are about blockchain. You know, it can be hacked, you know, a lot needs to be done for it to be hacked. And then we started getting hacked. So it's just a matter of time. As you're developing these innovations, the hackers are also developing innovations to hack the same things you're creating. So devil's advocate is just a matter of time until people can create ways to hack blockchain. For now, it's minimized security issues and everything, and we all know how data mining. If you have the data, you're the gun holder. So people will probably do whatever they need to do for them to be able to access data. So devil's advocate, just a matter of time before blockchain can be hacked. So to head of engineering, what I just usually say, it's just a matter of constant reviews and upgrades. I don't know if it plays a bigger part in the engineering bit. I hope it does. And number two, this is more of a loud monologue, but now that you have experts on the panel, I'd like to just air it out and hear your opinions. Future of human capital in the place of artificial intelligence. Ms. Chelagat, you mentioned efficiency. I, as an entrepreneur, if I am offered option A of artificial intelligence, which is going to offer me efficiency, and I have this person who is not going to be efficient enough, I will pick the AI. So what is the future of human capital in the place of artificial intelligence?
I'll start. I think for me, it's the same as automation. They have their places, but their places are really distinct. I use HR a lot. I did my master's in HR analytics and the role of HR analytics in that. And I think at the end of the day, is the role of HR to push paper? Is the role of HR, are there aspects of HR that AI can do? Are there simple questions that AI can answer so that HR can actually focus on what they're supposed to do, which is not process leave forms, which is not processing that what we do? How can we make them do higher level work? So for me, I look at it that way. I look at it, let's place HR where they're supposed to be. Let's actually make them help the business with the things that AI cannot do, which is more around the person, which originally was what HR was about. We all got into HR because we were told it's this place where you can use your heart. And suddenly all we are doing is processing papers. And so I think for me, I don't see it as almost removing it. I see it as actually elevating a lot of these jobs into what the human needs to do, which is a lot of things that AI cannot do. Like, yeah, so that would be my answer. I think they're both important. And in fact, the more I think about it, the more we really need, if there's a pressure that would need to move us to a place where you sit and you look and you actually are able to help go through a process that you needed because you are not so busy in the heaps of papers, you're actually just listening to the real concerns. I think that's a win, yeah, from my end. And I only want to speak about what I know, which is AI and HR, yeah.
Thank you. I think
I'm not going to talk for 10 seconds. Right. I'm not saying blockchain cannot be hacked. In fact, it is being hacked more than you can think about. It's only helping to do transparency. So the decentralization, I can say only 10% of people in blockchain right now are even achieving decentralization. Most of the blockchain you see right now are still centralized.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Can we give our panelists a round of applause? And with that, we've come to the end of the panel session. Thank you so much, Bryce. Thank you, Doris. Thank you, Sil. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Amazing. One more round of applause for that fascinating panel discussion. I think one thing I gathered from it was the most dangerous man in the room is Bright Gameli. I mean, to casually throw out a phishing attack in 10 seconds, my goodness. It's the audacity for me. So we're about to get into food shortly, but we heard a lot about VC funding in the discussion, but also Emmanuel talked about the VC funding landscape and how that's evolving across Africa. Our next speaker, who will come and give us some perspective on how that's changing and some of the opportunities, is a name that you need to know. Any tech startups in the room, by the way? Anyone wanting to get into a tech startup? All right, so you need to memorize this name, Andriata Muforo. Does anyone know that name? Oh, I can see the applause, as you should. And she's a partner at TLCom Partners. And she'll let us know more about VC funding. She has been a big, big part of Africa's VC story. Let's give her the floor.
Thank you. I have a very difficult job. I think I'm stopping between you and food, so I'll make this really quick. So I'm Andriata. I'm a partner at TLCom Capital. We're a venture capital fund. We manage about $350 million, of which about 220 is dedicated to Africa. So we invest in tech and tech-enabled businesses across Africa. And the thesis for what we do is, if you think about Africa, a bit of what Chris has said earlier, if you think about the 90s, it was about connecting Africa to the rest of the world. So in terms of building fiber optic cables and the likes. You think about the early 2000s, it was about connecting Africans and other people to each other. So it's about the mobile phone, making them cheaper. The era that we're now in is about how do you build content that then we as Africans and consumers and businesses can use to actually provide value and get the service that you want. And for a long time, Africans have been consumers of technology. But what we do in VC is we want to back companies that want to be producers of producing technology that Africans are using and the world is using. So we have invested actually in Seamless HR. We invested about a year ago in their Series A round. And when we are investing in companies, we try to answer 3 questions. Of course, they're a little bit deeper than this, but 3 main questions, buckets of questions. So the first one is around, is this an attractive market? So we're looking for large underserved markets where technology can play a significant role. And then we look at the company itself. Is this a good company? In the sense that, yes, there's this big problem, but is this a business model that can solve the problem? And if that's true, is this a company, is this a team that can execute? Because you can have you can be a great problem, a great business model, but if your team is weak and cannot execute, then you won't win in the market. So we've known Emmanuel and Deji for many years, and we believe that, the space that they're operating in, so how do you digitize and bring efficiency to corporates and medium-sized businesses for their enterprise HR solutions is a significant challenge across the continent, because here you're looking for solutions that's tailored to the Africa continent, because there are many global solutions, but some are too expensive. It's not customized for what it is that you need. We also see, within the team, a very strong team that can execute on this challenge. They have hundreds of customers in Nigeria being used by banks and insurance companies, and now looking to launch across the continent, of course, and this is the launch of the Kenya office and many more offices to come. But I think for me, like in terms of what excites me as a venture capital investor and what gets me up in every morning is the fact that we are mobilizing capital from around the world so that we can invest in African entrepreneurs, so that we build the technology and the solutions that we need so that we can solve the problems we have on the continent, because no one will do it for us, and we understand our problems very intricately, and there's actually a significant business opportunity doing that. Thank you.
I think that's the most attention we paid to any of the speakers tonight. $350 million, my goodness. So I'd like to invite some of the team from Seamless HR, and they're going to recognize some of the clients and the channel partners, but we're also going to be serving dinner simultaneously, because I know many of you are hungry. So I'm going to try and do this table by table. So tables 2, 3, 4 can actually make your way to the buffet station. So if you make your way to the back of the room, head left, and just follow the wafting of food, and you'll find it. Or the team can help you. So right now, I'd like to invite Louisa McKenna. She is the Regional Manager for Seamless HR East Africa, as well as Oscar Givinji, to take us through the recognition of various clients who have walked this journey with Seamless HR up until this point, and hopefully as they continue to scale in East Africa. So once again, tables 1, 2, 3, 4 can make your way to the buffet stations now as we get on with the recognition.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Louisa. First of all, I just want to say thank you for honoring our request to come and launch and celebrate with us this evening. I also want to thank the speakers and everybody who's been on this lovely stage to just give us some words of wisdom. Oscar?
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. We are a seamless family, and we'll always like hosting you guys. And as we've been saying, we are African, and African is our business. And we realized going into Africa, we need channel partners. And what Louise and I want to do now is to recognize our channel partners who are in the room to show you how we are now going to go and scale across Africa.
Great. So I just want to ask our channel partners, we'll start naming you at random to just wave at us. So first I want to recognize SoftNet. SoftNet, are you in the house? Thank you. Pinnacle Integrated. Pinnacle. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Ivan Ventures. Liz, are you in the room? Thank you for coming. We have Axoft Solutions. 2 dots. Mohoro. Then you also have Gravity. Francis, I see you there. Then you have Sedibat. Then you have Mosheki Consulting. They couldn't make it today. And that's all.
Great. And on top of channel partners, we've also over the year have worked with a number of companies that have trusted Seamless to run their human processes. So I just want to recognize some of those organizations. I will begin with Ramco Group. If you're in the house, just say hello. Hi. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. We have Vilgro Africa. Vilgro Africa. Thank you for coming as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I guess we are all hungry now. Let's have a bite to eat. Thank you, and
Louisa and Oscar, thank you so much for recognizing the partners and clients that have made this journey even more enjoyable. So what I'll be doing is, this is the chance for the DJ to get his 15 minutes. And as the music is playing, we can network, connect a bit more. I'll be coming in intermittently to announce table numbers, and then you can head over to the buffet station. But for now, we can take a breather and network, and then I'll be back with a few more table numbers. Thank you.
You are my African queen. Ooh, Lord, ooh, Lord. Just like the sun, light up the earth, you light up my life. The only one I ever see with a smile so bright. And just yesterday, you came around my way. You changed my horse in way with your astonishing beauty. Oh, you couldn't make a brother sing. No ordinary thing, a supernatural being. And no, you are brighter than the moon, brighter than the star. I love you just the way you are. And you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. Yeah. You make my heart go ding-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, you are my African queen, the girl Girl, you remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, you are my African queen. Oh Lord, ooh Lord. Out of a million, you stand as one, they are standing one.
Just a quick announcement, housekeeping item. So if you are missing your car keys, you drive a Nissan, you really love your mom, and then I have what looks like a wedding ring. I don't know what your plan was, but please come see me, stage right.
You are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Yeah, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty.
'Cause I'm certain brighter days are yet to come. Ain't no question that tomorrow there'll be good times. Good times. I believe with every beat of my heart. 'Cause I'm certain brighter days are yet to come. Ain't no question that tomorrow there'll be good times. Good times. I believe with every beat of my heart.
I'm on a one-way train, tenda memba nenda zangu do my best. Saa zingine wanga ni noma, imani yangu inanichoma, but I know there'll be a better day. Yeah, I'm living on the edge, sijui nitashukia kwa gani stage. Life inani